नमस्ते। आज ये सोशल फॉर कम्युनल हार्मनी के इस स्पेशल एपिसोड में आप सबका स्वागत है। आज का विषय आदि आबादी का एक ही धर्म औरत है। इसको मॉडरेट करने के लिए मैंने आग्रह किया है मानसी बल भार्गव जी से। वही इस शो को आज मॉडरेट कर रही हैं। इसमें क्या है और कैसे इसको आगे बढ़ाया जाएगा ये वो आपको बता देंगे। मानसी जी, ये अब आपका शो और मैं आपको यहाँ से हैंड ओवर कर रहा हूँ। प्लीज यू गो अहेड। थैंक यू सो मच।
थैंक यू आनंद जी। पब्लिक टीवी में आप सबका स्वागत है। और आज हम जो डिस्कस करना चाहते हैं उसके पहले हम सेलिब्रेशन मोड पे हैं, ये भी हम क्लियर कर दें, बिकॉज हम वर्ल्ड वुमेन्स डे की तरफ जा रहे हैं इस साल 2022 के लिए। और उस सेलिब्रेशन के तहत हम बात करना चाहते हैं रिलीजन पे, क्योंकि रिलीजन आजकल हमारे लिए एक हॉट टॉपिक हो गया है देश में। और जब हम रिलीजन की बात करते हैं तो अक्सर बहुत सारे रिलीजन आते हैं, पर अभी तो देश में काफ़ी रिलीजन को लेके ये 2-4 रिलीजन के पीछे ही मतलब खींचातानी चल रही है। बट एक इम्पॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट इस रिलीजियस आइडेंटिटी में जो बैकग्राउंड में चली जाती है वो है जेंडर एस्पेक्ट। और जब मैं जेंडर की बात करती हूँ, एंड पर्टिकुलरली अगर वुमेन एज अ जेंडर की बात करें, तो जो वुमेन है वो इस पूरी रिलीजन लड़ाई में डबल इम्पैक्टेड है। अभी कुछ समय पहले मैं एक दूसरे सेशन में अटेंड कर रही थी और मुझे ये बात काफ़ी चुभने वाली लगी। वो ये है कि पर्टिकुलरली अगर मैं देखूं मुस्लिम वुमेन का, तो उनका ज़्यादा मतलब मल्टीपल लेयर्स ऑफ इम्पैक्ट होता है। अब हिंदू वुमेन के अलग तरीके के इम्पैक्ट हैं, क्रिश्चियन वुमेन के अलग तरीके के इम्पैक्ट हैं, बट ओवरआर्चिंग प्रॉब्लम ये है कि देयर आर फ्यू मेन डिस्कसिंग एंड डिसाइडिंग कि what women are going to do, how women are going to do, when women are going to do, where they are going to do, and how much they are going to do। तो यहाँ जाके एक जो इम्पोर्टेंट बात आती है, एंड इसीलिए आज जो विषय रखा गया है उसका नाम भी इसीलिए, जो रिलीजन है, हाफ ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन की जो रिलीजन है वो अपने आप में ही जेंडर है। इसलिए ये बात कही जा रही है कि अगर हम सोशली कंस्ट्रक्टेड रिलीजन से ऊपर जाएं और बायोलॉजिकली कंस्ट्रक्टेड, नेचुरली कंस्ट्रक्टेड जो एक आधार है, मूल है, वैल्यूज है सोसाइटी की, उसमें कहीं ना कहीं वुमेन एज अ रिलीजन बहुत सामने आता है और वो अंडरमाइंड है। वो भी एक इम्पॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट है। अंडर रिप्रेजेंटेड है, वो इम्पॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट है। और इसके साथ साथ सप्रेस्ड भी है। ऐसा नहीं है कि ये नेचुरली हो रहा है, ये कॉन्शियसली डेलिबरेटली भी एक पेट्रियार्कल सोसाइटी में अटेम्प्ट होता है। और हमने देखा कोरोना में ये और ज़्यादा हो गया, जबकि ऐसी उम्मीद है कि अब धीरे धीरे ये ट्रांसपेरेंसी बढ़ेगी और हम वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट में काम कर रहे हैं। देश में तो बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ भी चलता है। इसके बावजूद we see कि women are actually getting sidelined and cornered in large numbers, and especially in a country like India. If you go through the stats, you also learn that India houses maximum number of educated women who are quote unquote in the formal employment sector. So and we also then relate with ki, okay, what is formal employment sector and where is the informality, and why do homemakers still not get considered? तो ये सारे तो अलग मुद्दे हैं, बट इम्पॉर्टेंट बात ये है कि रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ वुमेन टुडे। सो आज हमारे साथ बात करने के लिए बेसिकली वी हैव वेरी डाइवर्स ग्रुप ऑफ स्पीकर्स टुडे। वी हैव डॉक्टर अरविंदर ए अंसारी, professor at Jamia Millia Islamia. So नमस्कार प्रोफेसर अंसारी, आप डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ सोशियोलॉजी को रिप्रेजेंट कर रही हैं आज यहाँ पे, और आप अपना पक्ष रखेंगी। हमारी जो दूसरी स्पीकर है और वो मेरी बहुत अच्छी फ्रेंड भी है, डॉक्टर लुबना सारवत हैदराबाद से हैं, पॉलिटिशियन हैं, एक्टिविस्ट हैं, एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट हैं। एंड गुड टू सी यू लुबना। It's now nearly 2 years we met each other, so welcome again. And Lubna has been very, very active on ground with all kinds of environmental as well as social issues. So and it's a privilege to have you here as a friend and as a speaker today. And our third speaker is a very young, dynamic and I will say inspiration for even people like us and Dr. Professor Ansari and Lubna, because when we see Fasila Ibrahim, advocate from Lakshadweep, हमको एटलीस्ट लगता है कि हमारी जितने सालों की लड़ाई है आगे ले जाने के लिए हमारे पास और बड़ी मशाल है। जब हम फसीला जी को देखते हैं और उनका जो फाइट है लक्षद्वीप की आइडेंटिटी के लिए, बहुत ही अच्छा एक आर्टिकल मैंने उनके उनके जो विचार जो रखे गए हैं तो उसमें पढ़ा मैंने कि दे वांट द लैंड विदाउट अस, विच इज वेरी वेरी इम्पॉर्टेंट आस्पेक्ट। ये बात लक्षद्वीप की खाली नहीं है। गिवन अ सिचुएशन, मैं इस प्लेटफॉर्म में पहले भी बोल चुकी हूँ कि अगर ऐसा नौबत आए इस देश में पर्टिकुलरली कि अगर जिस दिन वुमेन के एक्चुअली बेबी बर्थ का अगर उससे इंफॉर्मेशन या उसकी राइट्स वो एक्सरसाइज नहीं करती, तो समहाउ हमारा पेट्रियार्की इतना स्ट्रांग और इतना डोमिनेंट है कि वो शायद वुमेन का आइडेंटिटी ही इस देश से ना रखना चाहे, ना ही चाहे शायद वुमेन को। तो कहीं ना कहीं हमको साथ मिलके एक आवाज उठानी पड़ती है, हमको अपनी प्रेजेंस भी बतानी पड़ती है और सही गलत का रास्ता दिखाने के लिए भी वुमेन की ही जरूरत है। तो इस बात के साथ मैं प्रोफेसर अंसारी को सबसे पहले बुलाना चाहूंगी कि वो अपना एक एंगल रखे, इवन फ्रॉम द थियोरिटिकल पर्सपेक्टिव एज वेल, and give us some insight how can we inch towards more equal society. Over to you, Professor Ansari. आवाज।
थैंक यू मानसी जी। पहले तो मैं अपना आभार व्यक्त करना चाहूंगी। आई कैन बी बाइलिंगुअल और आई हैव टू बी इन हिंदुस्तान?
बाइलिंगुअल।
जी, तो सबसे पहले मैं अपना आभार व्यक्त करना चाहूंगी आनंद वर्धन जी को, सोसाइटी फॉर कम्युनल हार्मनी को, जिन्होंने आज मुझे यहाँ भेजा और ये मौका दिया कि मैं अपनी बात कह सकूं। और ये बहुत अप्रोप्रिएट टाइम है। कहने को तो 8 मार्च को हम इंटरनेशनल वुमेन डे सेलिब्रेट करते हैं, लेकिन ये पूरा हफ्ता ही एक तरह से कहा जाए कि बहुत मसरूफ रहता है और एक तरह से हमें बार बार याद दिलाता है। और ये भी सवाल उठाता है कि क्या खाली एक ही दिन महिलाओं का दिवस होना चाहिए या हर दिन महिलाओं का दिवस होना चाहिए? तो मैं कहूँगी कि हर दिन तो महिलाओं का दिन होना ही चाहिए, लेकिन ये दिवस, ये एक इसको खास याद के उस रूप में मनाया जाना चाहिए कि जो कुर्बानियाँ, जो स्ट्रगल हमारी फोर मदर्स ने की है पूरी पिछले 1 150 साल से जो वुमेन्स मूवमेंट चली है, तो शायद ये उनकी कुर्बानियों, उनके हार्ड वर्क का ये नतीजा है कि आज हम बैठे हैं, हम बात कर रहे हैं और हम इन बातों पे मंजिल तो अभी बहुत दूर है, लेकिन फिर भी एक 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 पहल हो चुकी है और काफ़ी कुछ हुआ है, काफ़ी कुछ होना बाकी है। और जो होना बाकी है सबसे ज़्यादा वो है जेंडर इक्वालिटी की बात जो आपने कही। आपने रिप्रेजेंटेशन के हवाले से कही। रिप्रेजेंटेशन औरतों का जो है उसमें उनकी हिस्सेदारी बहुत कम है। बहुत सही कहा आपने, औरतों की हिस्सेदारी बहुत सारे आयामों में कम है, ज़िंदगी के बहुत सारे आयामों में कम है। मैं फ़ज़ीला से कहना चाहूँगी कि अ अंडमान निकोबार में वो चाहते हैं कि उन्हें हमारे बिना लैंड मिले, लेकिन घरों में भी चाहते हैं कि हम हमारी सेवाएँ तो मिलें पर हमें हमारे हक ना मिलें। तो ये जो चीज़ है जो एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। लेकिन इसमें मैं एक बात कहूँगी कि ये जो पूरा हमारा सोशल सिस्टम है पैट्रियार्की का, मैं पहले एक बात वाज़ेह कर देना चाहती हूँ, साफ कर देना चाहती हूँ कि एज़ अ फेमिनिस्ट हमारी लड़ाई मर्दों के खिलाफ नहीं है। हमारी लड़ाई जो है वो एक सोशल सिस्टम के खिलाफ है और जिसका शिकार मर्द भी होते हैं, पर वो इस चीज़ को समझ नहीं पाए और शायद इसमें औरतें ज़्यादा समझदार निकली और उन्हें ज़्यादा समझ में आ रहा है कि कैसे जो ये एक सामाजिक व्यवस्था है, ये हमें कैसे जो है ऑप्रेस करती है। और हम इस ऑप्रेशन से बाहर निकलना चाहते हैं और हम अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस करना चाहते हैं। और ये जो है, क्योंकि कहीं न कहीं ऐसा होता क्यों है? क्यों ऐसा है? कि ये जो हायरार्की है, ये किसकी बनाई हुई है? हम कुदरत की बात करते हैं, हम हमेशा कहते हैं कि औरत कमज़ोर है। क्या कुदरत ने औरत को कमज़ोर बनाया है? ये बहुत बुनियादी सवाल है। कुदरत ने तो औरत को कमज़ोर नहीं बनाया, मुख्तलिफ बनाया है, अलग बनाया है, हमारी शारीरिक बनावट अलग है और इन दोनों शारीरिक बनावटों का एक अपना इम्पोर्टेंस है। दोनों को जो है उसकी कुदरत ने तो एक डाइवर्सिटी बनाई है, एक, और हमने उस डाइवर्सिटी को डिफरेंस में तब्दील कर दिया है, हमने उस डाइवर्सिटी को डिस्क्रिमिनेशन में तब्दील कर दिया है। कुदरत ने ये नहीं कहा कि औरत पायलट नहीं बन सकती, वाइस चांसलर नहीं बन सकती, नेता नहीं बन सकती, जज नहीं बन सकती। कुदरत ने तो कहा है औरत इन सबके साथ माँ भी बन सकती है, बच्चे को जन्म भी दे सकती है और बच्चे को बड़ा कर सकती है। उसको उसकी जो फिजियोलॉजी है वो इतनी केपेबल है कि वो एक जान को सरवाइव करवा सकती है। तो ये एक चीज़ है जिसको हमें सेलिब्रेट करने की ज़रूरत है। ये कमज़ोरी नहीं, ये ताकत है। तो हम देखते हैं कि पेट्रियार्की में ऐसा क्या है जो 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 मर्दों को ताकत देती है। पेट्रियार्की एक ऐसा सिस्टम है जिसने ये तय कर लिया है, उसने कुदरत का आसरा लिया, कुदरत का बहाना लिया। कुदरत ने हमें मुख्तलिफ बनाया है। मैं फिर से कहूँगी डाइवर्स है, डाइवर्सिटी है, कुदरत को डाइवर्सिटी पसंद है और डाइवर्सिटी की एक इम्पोर्टेंस है, इस वजह से हम अलग हैं। लेकिन उसने हमें किसी को उसने हमें अलग तो बनाया, विभिन्न बनाया, लेकिन भेदभाव नहीं है। तो ये जो भेदभाव है, जो ये डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है, ये जो सीखा है हमने वो समाज में सीखा है। और ये जो सिस्टम है, सोशल सिस्टम जिसको हम कहते हैं कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ जेंडर जो इसमें हुई है, वो ये कहीं न कहीं मर्दों को उसने सुपीरियर डिक्लेयर किया है। मर्दों को क्यों सुपीरियर डिक्लेयर किया है? ये मान के हम चलते हैं कि मर्द सुपीरियर है। आप घरों में भी देखिए, मैं देखती हूँ ये कॉन्फिडेंस कितनी पढ़ी-लिखी महिलाओं में है। मानसी जी, मैं अपना टाइम भी जानना चाहूँगी, ये ना हो कि मैं बोलती चली जाऊँ और दूसरे वक्ताओं का समय मैं नहीं लेना चाहूँगी। तो आप मुझे प्लीज़ बता दें कि मेरा टाइम कितना है ताकि मैं अपनी बात उसमें समेट सकूँ पूरी।
थैंक यू प्रोफेसर अंसारी। एक्चुअली मैं ऐसा सोच रही थी कि एक राउंड हम 5 मिनट्स का अपना पोजीशन रखें और फिर सेकेंड राउंड जाए ताकि सबका एक बार बात आ जाए तो हम
बस
उसको चर्न कर
बस मैं
पाएंगे।
एक
श्योर।
बस 2 मिनट में पॉइंट को प्रॉब्लमेटाइज़ करके फिर हम इसको शुरू करते हैं।
श्योर।
तो जो पेट्रियार्की है वो एक सोशल सिस्टम है जिसमें ये माना जाता है कि मर्द सुपीरियर है। और जो ये हायरार्की है, ये हायरार्की जो है सबसे बड़ी हायरार्की है जिसको एड्रेस करने की ज़रूरत है। तो मर्दों को सुपीरियर क्यों माना जाता है? क्योंकि उनका जो कंट्रोल है रिसोर्स पे, डिसीजन मेकिंग पे और आइडियोलॉजी पे, ये जो कंट्रोल है वो उनको सुपीरियर बनाता है। और इसकी वजह से हम देखते हैं समाज में जो ये जेंडर हायरार्की है जिसके विषय में शायद आज हम बात करेंगे। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू प्रोफेसर अंसारी। आई थिंक आपने बहुत अच्छी बात रखी लास्ट में, जो द डिसीजन मेकिंग जो उनके पास रहता है, जो आइडियोलॉजी वो दे आर एबल टू एक्सप्रेस। एंड आई थिंक अनदर रीजन आई वुड ऐड टू योर पॉइंट्स इज दैट I guess they have more time to even congregate and come together collectively, which women is now realizing, and that's why we are also seeing more and more women coming together, like wiki is formed and things like that. So I think a very good point to take it further, because then we see also more women power all from the ground with Dr. Lubna Sarwat, because you have been facing not only from the environmental perspective how patriarchy or gender aspect comes into the foray, you can also highlight some of the aspects from the social angle, so both social and ecological. Over to you, Dr. Sarwat. You have to unmute yourself, please.
No, but I was muted by the host.
Okay. Go ahead, because of the to avoid the echo. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So now am I audible?
You are audible. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, and sabko good evening to everybody. Hello?
Please go ahead, Lubna. We are
Yeah.
hearing you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm very good words told by Professor Ansari, and I'm looking forward to hear from our young advocate from Lakshadweep. And meanwhile, as you asked me to highlight in the areas of my work, particularly environment, politics, and all the social sector issues, I want to definitely highlight here one thing. That even now in a metropolitan, they call Greater Hyderabad Metro Corporation, even in such places, and I know it's happening in most of the India. There are some seats, there are some constituencies reserved for women, and in those reserved constituencies also, where there are women, we find that the woman is just a dummy candidate, and all the men, their husbands, or in some cases their brothers, it is they who are actually calling themselves, even though officially it is the woman who is declared there, the men are actually posting their Facebook everywhere, in the press everywhere, they are telling that they are the corporator. See what sort of the height of misrepresentation is happening. It's a big crime actually. Actually, it's a crime. But and the people are accepting it. That's the bad point of it. That's the bad point of it, that the people are accepting and not challenging him, telling that you may work, you are the wife's, the corporator's husband, so you name yourselves that and you do that. No, but they are calling themselves corporate. That's happening in the city. So what about, I have seen this happening in North India and other things also. So there's a long way to go. What I'm going to say by highlighting this is that there's a long way to go. Mostly if people are doing something also, there are people who are not questioning, and it's happening because of that. Whatever is happening, because of the people who are doing a mistake is less, but the people who are not questioning is more. So we must understand where else all these facts lie. And if you take the social and educational point of view also, recently also when this hijab के बारे में जो था, I want to tell that hijab was not the issue there. The issue was that education, and the education of a few girls was stopped in the name of their hijab. So whenever anchors used to tell me that this is the hijab issue, I used to tell it's not hijab issue, it is education issue. If somebody wants to come in an attire, then you are not to question them. That is, they tell it is their attire, and that attire is not disturbing the public order, it is not immodest, it is not indecent. Then on what grounds are we stopping that attire? When the constitution is telling that there is a compulsory education which every girl and every citizen has to take. So these are the points, and just my last point that I would like the entire world to concentrate is on that is a girl, now Professor Ansar also told about the mother that she is, the woman. So what we have to understand, is that right from the age of 11, 12, a woman is started undergoing the physiological changes, the hormonal changes, the bodily changes, the mind changes. It's different from a man's body, a boy's body, a man's body. So the concern has to be about giving her understanding those changes and the preparatoriness for her to contribute to the society in various forms, in the biological form and in various multiple social and other forms. So when she's preparing for that, and due to the nature, her bodily, her physiological is different, her emotions are different, her needs and necessities are different, then is the world actually understanding those and giving her due space and respect? It is not. It's a clear and loud no. That is what is worrying me. So I just want to open with these points.
Yeah. Thank you, Lubna. I think you made a very valid point that whether the world is accepting or accommodating these physiological changes which go. In fact, to large extent, we have all faced this probably in our lives, that it's only men who are demeaning these changes, and in the professional circle it is demeaned. But even we find that many women are also not able to, accept these changes, and sometimes women become a barrier to progress of other women, or women become unfriendly. So in some way or the other, I have also experienced that women to large extent to become successful or to achieve successful, they are losing their feministic values, and they are becoming more masculine, you know so one part is that we have to look for accommodation of these womanhood, but on the other side, the other extreme or spectrum of it is that how far women can really go and fall into the trap of this masculine social order of success, of being great, or of doing. I feel that because it is women who are giving birth to men or boys as well, women have to also actually teach the boys and men how to be better human beings in the society, then we actually losing our womanhood and going to the other extreme. So I'm just adding to what you said, Lubna. And I think this is where I find a big risk in when we are talking about empowering women. We need to also be very, very careful that what is that empowerment are we talking about? Uh, because you also mentioned about the proxy politicians, and it is very much evident, whether it is UP election, we see 40%, which
Yes.
is a very good sign. But whether they are going to come or not, I think it is a big, at least a good beginning that we are talking about it. And Lubna, you yourself has contested, and and you have gone through all the salt and sugar part of it, I will say, of going on the grassroots. So, by the way, for all the attendees here, Lubna also represents the Socialist Party of India from the region there. So I'll just
No, one
put.
second. A small correction, please. I have resigned from
Yes.
Socialist Party India in
Okay.
2021. I am not
Okay,
in the
okay. I
party
was
anymore.
okay. Thank you
Sorry.
for the
It's okay.
update, because it's yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So as you were already talking about this accommodation of these changes coming on, I just added the professional changes which women face along with the biological changes. So how far can we go and talk about chasing them? And when we upscale these issues, we come to a situation where the whole region itself is getting under threat. And I'm coming to the example of Lakshadweep. And when we are actually talking about beyond women, also when and things go into vulnerable community. So patriarchy is not only about men, women. Unfortunately, patriarchy is about very sectoral men, and they are against not only women but also poor people. So it is more, patriarchy is very capitalistic as well. So again, against the vulnerable poor people, and I will say against the vulnerable fauna and flora, so environment for that matter. Giving example of Lakshadweep here, the way Vikas is being promoted for Lakshadweep, we have to start questioning what exactly is this Vikas. When people of Lakshadweep are not incorporated, their views are not taken into account, what kind of Vikas we are talking about? Some colonization of some people with bag of money go there and start living there, and you throw out the local people out there. I think more you are going to talk from here, Fasila, because you are not only going to bring the angle of women, but you are also going to talk about the marginalized community where Lakshadweep already falls as a marginalized community. Over to you, Ms. Ibrahim. Please continue.
Thanks, all of you. First of all, thanks for making me a part of this panel. I'm very happy to talk about this issue specifically. First of all, I come from a place, Lakshadweep, that is like more than 90% of our population is Muslim, and more than 90% of our population is scheduled tribe. So this is the kind of community that we come from. So today we're talking about women and the structure of patriarchy. So if I may say, sociologically speaking, Lakshadweep is a place which has a matrilineal society.
Yes.
So it has a matrilineal society. So from that perspective also, I can say that patriarchy is so deeply rooted that even if the structure of the society is matrilineal, there is no escape for women. Like some way or the other, the patriarchy creeps in. Even the matrilineal society is structured in a way that it functions for the betterment of men in some way or the other. So if I speak of my island, for example, the reason why which women are at the helm of affairs at their households is because most of the men are working in ships in outside. So they are not at the islands to take care of the household affairs and everything. So that is the exact reason why the society is structured in a way like the head becomes a woman and she takes care of the issues of the families and all. But at the outset of it, at the very grassroots level, the things are very, very patriarchal in itself. So this is a situation even in a prominently matrilineal society that we are talking about. The only things that we don't see in our place, like we outrightly do not have things like dowry, the woman going to the husband's family. In our culture, the husband comes to the girl's family. So that is the kind of culture we have. But even then, we can see a huge lot of difference. Like in a patriarchal setup, when a girl goes and lives in the husband's family, the kind of treatment they get, But even in a matriarchal setup, when a husband comes and lives in the girl's family, the kind of treatment they get is completely two different things. The husband is still taken care of very well. They are not made to do what a girl would go and do in the other place. So even inside a matrilineal system, the structure of patriarchy is so strong that this is what women are facing. And what Lubna ma'am spoke about, like even we have reservations in our panchayat system where women are largely given reservations based on the reservation system. But as she said, most of the candidates are proxies. So what is the level of reservations that we have, and how is it effective as we speak? Again, even in the judiciary as we speak of, right? I'm a lawyer, like even if the judiciary as we speak of, we say like today we have so many women judges coming up. How many judges would be enough to bring equality? I would say it will be equal the day or when all the judges of the Supreme Court are women lawyers. Because if it's normal for all judges to be men, it should be normal for all judges to be women. That is the day we attain actual equality. When that is normal, then we say that we are an equal society, when these things become normal in the true sense. Now, talking about what is going on in Lakshadweep right now, we have a completely dictatorial setup that is going on right now. Lakshadweep, as we know, the panchayat systems are the only democratic form of governances that we have. So even the powers of the panchayats are being taken away. So there is no democracy whatsoever that's there. And this present administrator who has come in is bringing in rules and laws that are like completely taking away the autonomy of the people of the scheduled tribe population over their lands. Even something so basic as Anganwadis. So many Anganwadis which are for primary health and welfare of the children and women, Anganwadis are being closed. Primary healthcare centers are being closed. So many dairy farms are being closed, which are like affecting the very basics of the lives of the people. So at the crux of it, when in any society, I feel when in any society, at the crux of it, there is suppression happening. The women are somehow the most suppressed. That is how our society functions. So I think I would like to put these points forward in taking this.
Yeah, thank you, Fasila. And I think you made a very important point here that even in a matriarch society, somehow we have a privilege. I mean, men get more privilege as compared to the others. So it's a very good point. But I think an important point you also made here is that how Lakshadweep is getting changed over these, change in the administration style. And it's just a ripple effect of what's going on in the country. But rightly mentioned that at the end of the day, women are actually on the receiving end, whether you talk about school, whether you talk about education, whether you talk about doing the activities at home or even at work, because Lakshadweep has a setup where women are more on ground also, because men are more in the waters. So you have a very unique situation, and probably we'll ask Anandji to have another session on Lakshadweep focused. But coming back to the woman aspect of it, and we go back to Professor Ansari to get some more lights on these things. When we are talking about being women in a society, and that too where women are more empowered, just for a case of Lakshadweep, as well as the entire Northeast for that matter. It's also very, matriarch. Even in those kind of setup, we see that women have to actually struggle to get themselves well represented. They struggle to get room for expression. And I think there is also about financial literacy or financial empowerment. This is one of the areas where women struggle more, and that also brings them in that vulnerable zone of really not having their say, both at home as well as at work. But beyond that, I would like to add extra question to you, Professor Ansari. especially in the work spheres and all, we see that even though we talk about women empowerment and educated, many women are also now in the education, we still find some kind of discrimination, even in promotions, even in appointments, whether it is court, whether it is university, whether it is big body. For example, I wrote a paper for Niti Aayog, article, when Niti Aayog her top position was empty, that will Niti Aayog finally have a woman top. So we are still not looking at options of women being Supreme Court Chief Justice, or High Court Chief Justice. Not many are there if you look at percentage. Women being vice chancellors. 2 years ago, I was looking at how many women vice chancellors are there in the. So how do you really see this aspect? Like, many universities are not now claiming to be gender neutral, but when you look into the grains of it, you find more women are working in the administration, working in the small the management side of it, but not really taking the top notch top positions. So over to you, Professor Ansari.
Mm. Thank you. I mean, Mansi, it's very important question, very relevant question that we are being harping on since 2001, women's empowerment policy, and the net result which is there globally. We see that generally what happens, women are not at the top positions, and there are datas which are showing many organizations have done their surveys, and they tell us that women, they reach positions, but they reach middle ranks, but they do not reach top positions. Now it is very important to understand the conditioning of this superiority complex, which is very much, it is globally which we see. And if you look at the statistics which talks about women, the share, we see that the um, International Labour Organization talking about that 50% of the population, that is men, if we say men in majority, because we have declining sex ratio, and globally if we say that it is 50% of the men who are in majority, they have 99% of them are supreme vice chancellors, and also on all top positions, CEOs, or chairs or directors. Now, this is what we have to look into the context of structural reservation. Men have been enjoying that kind of position. You see, women have been discriminated. I remember, if you would read, especially Kirti's case when she was denied the promotion for top position. The reason was that she's women, and some that giving her a top position might interfere with her role as a mothering. That is one story which was there. But what I want to emphasize is that this there has been this control. What I'm talking about, the control on the resources. So this, we see the manifestation of this resources. We see that. But the thing is that there is a kind of what we say, this hierarchy is very much conditioned, and not only conditioned in the minds of men only, in women also, because as you had said in your comment, that you have seen that many women compromising and taking positions where there is always, what has happened is that the whole process of socialization, that we want to be like men, that okay, I also want to be like him. We look, they, I mean, the mistake lies there, that we don't have to have that kind of role models, because we have to look at our own inspirations. We have to first kind of have introduction with myself, what we say, that what I want to do, that is very important. And this whole question of from where does this thing comes of empowering women? Our constitution has given us equal rights. Who's empowering? Empowerment is the question of choice and self realization, that I can take my decisions and I can take informed decisions. So you see the whole dependency on the males in the patriarchal system, because you need their permission, sanction to go out, is something which really needs, this is the question of mindset which needs to be addressed. That it is very important, given opportunity, given opportunity, say, very well, and I'll give you an example of my own university where we have a women vice. We have got, A plus plus in NAC accreditation, and during her tenure, we have seen that the way we have progressed. So it is that women are no less. Only thing is that they are denied opportunity, and we had certain laws. If you would look, in fact. Fazila would be able to talk about it more, because if you look at the colonized laws which they brought in into India, where the all jobs which demanded women to be in factories, say in night, and in minings, were that they were not allowed to work in markets, in mines. This is, I'm talking about Victorian laws, where it was assumed that this would be an hindrance in her role as a mother and wife. So, where is the agency of the women? The agency of the women is very important. If I decide that I don't want to work in this factory or in mines, that is my choice. It has a health repercussions, but that's a separate question. But the whole question about empowerment, which we have been harping for so many years, is actually of this realization of making a choice, which is very important, decision making power. And I think that is what it is. Otherwise, if we say women are no less, wherever they have got opportunities, they have done well. And if you would see, for instance, the management of crisis, pandemic, you see where there were women prime ministers, for instance, the case of Germany, we see how well they managed the crisis. And also, various organizations where you would see that there is that, that sensitivity which is more, in women, that somehow, because from childhood we have been taught to be perfectionist, so that is also reflected. But it is the question of opportunity. Women do not get opportunity to be in higher positions. There are a lot of challenges. And another thing which I would like to emphasize is also, assertive women are not, they don't get the positions. Why assertive women do not get? Because they are the real challenge, they are a real threat, because they are critically engaging, they are asking questions which put you in a very, very difficult situations. So that is also a reason. If you would see, you pick up the studies, and it would show that how assertive working women have to face problems. They have to face more and more problems. And of course, there are issues of various types of harassments at workplace, where there are very, and you are having an independent mind, so that if you are challenging that subservience, it becomes very difficult for men to digest that, oh, she's challenging my power, my authority, my ideology, my reasoning, my rationality. How can she do that? So, this hierarchy, which is very much embedded in this social system, what we call patriarchy, is the reason that we see that, in spite of putting so much of work, so much of hard work, we see that women do not get equal positions, equal. Forget about. What we talk about gender equality. And so this is a very, very challenging, because challenging, it is a challenge both for men and women, because when we talk about gender equality is now not something which is about women, it is about the system. Gender, we see, if we have we have data where we see that countries which practice, I emphasize word and I underline gender equality, are are more developed more happy. They have more happiness quotient, which is very important, because gender development is a win-win game. And I would like to quote Kamla Bhasin, who says that um, men of quality do not are not afraid of equality. So that's a very important
I think
thing
I
to
think
understand.
very well, very good point made, and you brought Kamla Bhasinji, and that also is very important. We pay a tribute to her contribution, where actually she also highlights that we need to also work on men, because often, like today also, when we are talking about women, we are all for women. I know that is already a question mark, because unless and until men are talking about this, we are really not heading much further. So I think, because you have already raised the point of moving further in this direction, I will invite Lubna to quickly put her points on where do you think that we can really bring some small changes, and for example, even if it requires working on the men to really move towards or inch towards the gender parity, because gender itself unfortunately tagged with women. Gender means working on both men and women. So if we have to talk about inching towards equality, do you think we need to only work on women, or how can we work on men? Lubna, what are your ideas? And I know you are already making a struggle for putting up a position in Waqf board. And I read your article recently, so maybe you can use that as an example. So please go ahead, and
Yeah.
you maybe little.
Yes. So what I want to tell here is I'll take all my points further, and also from where Professor Ansari also has left. And the points that I now am going to tell will be of one thing, highlighting about the particularly what the Muslim women are facing, because that is a point. Okay. Because if we take also that 15% or 14% of Indian population is Muslim, then out of that 7.7.5 7% or 7.5% are women. So they themselves are a खुद एक समूह है. So they are actually facing some critical and universal problems within themselves, the 7%. So that can't be ignored, and that's coming out of the set of those most honorable men. So no, not I we can't ignore that, because these are the problems actually which 7% are facing. That's one point. And then I will also like to dwell on the general women as such, together the entire 50%, what it is happening with them. So actually, I have told this on many places, and I want to tell here, I will not mind mentioning it everywhere, that point where Professor Ansari also has raised is that many people, we saw in many TVs also, people, women are telling that हमने ये सोचा कि जब मर्द कर सकता है तो हम क्यों नहीं कर सकते. So by God, what a man did has never been a standard for me. That is not a
Yes,
benchmark for
very
me.
valid point. I am also
How is
raising
that a
that point.
benchmark? How is that a benchmark for me at all? Especially when I see that the men are spoiling the entire world.
Yes.
By God, today वहां पर जो हो रहा हंगामा, the men are the helm of the decisions today, that even we are at the brink of a nuclear war. So it
And
is men are never our benchmark, and men should never be the benchmark. And I think the young minds we have to nurture in them, that, as I tried to highlight from the 11th, 12th year, where the little girl keeps transforming in mind, in body, and everywhere in aspirations, that deserves a special mention and special attention, which sorrowfully the world is not ready to give her that due respect that she deserves. And with that due respect and recognition comes all the space that is due to her and to be given. Now, first of all, that recognition is not there, so how will they give her anything that she deserves? Especially as a specialty, she deserves something more. So now let me tell you, also highlighting that, देखिए, as I told you about the proxy things that are happening in this, whatever you said, 21st century or whatever. देखिए, our own sitting chief minister, as an example, I'm telling you this, our own sitting chief minister, KCR, when there was a 51-day strike by the state transport corporation across the entire state. It was a very serious strike. It went more than 50 days. And suddenly it got called off. He called them and all that. You know what is one of the amendments that he tried to make? Look at the set, the patterns that even Fasila was telling, the set, mind that. You know what he told in one of his stream of announcements? That all the lady conductors, they need not work after 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. because of the safety part of it, or whatever. So we questioned. People like me questioned him that there are so many ladies out there on the street who are starting their work at 8 p.m. What about the night shift? The girls are going all the way to various parts of the high-tech city and other places. What about their security? And believe me, all the roads that are laid, in the city, they are laid in the night time. The road repair work and everything. And do you know, to go out and to see them at 2 a.m. with the for labor force, you have women at 2 a.m. laying in the roads, because their duty of giving the everything, it's a woman only does that. And she's there out there on the roads at 2 a.m. And our CM, as a form of an appeasement, because 50-day ka strike chala tha, and he was the actually architect of that strike, that it ran for so many days. If he would have understood the problems of his people, it would not even have been a strike at all, and many people died and suffered. Many suicides happened by our RTC drivers. Okay, but the point here is that he tried to appease and bring around the strike as if he was so overtly concerned. He told this, that
I
allow
think
the
it's a
women to go away.
yeah. I think it's a
So this
very
is the
valid
mindset.
point, very valid point, and this is where the nuances lie, because when we are talking about empowering women or safeguarding women, we are imposing ideas on women, and I
Yes.
have been also saying it at many platforms that why not start talking about how men should behave, why not put men inside the house after
Yeah.
6 p.m. so that all women
I
are safe. Very
Exactly.
simple.
So, yeah, same
But
point. Exactly. Very simple. I'll tell you where this is happening. When this Disha thing happened in Hyderabad, which went across India, all the India was startled with what happened. So, at that time also, what happened was the DGP, the police commissioners, everybody came out with a set of guidelines as to what the girl has to do.
girl
Like,
should
there
do.
was an extra burden on the girl now. She, apart from a school bag or the working bag, she's advised to carry a pepper spray now. And now we are not bothered about our books as students or about the working, about
Yes,
our offices and all that. Now we are bothered ki who will be stalking us, who is after us, so that I should be allowed to use my pepper.
yes,
Is
yes.
this what the governance is
Yeah,
going to tell us?
yes.
So
This is
again,
also a
the
patriarchal
point.
mindset. So,
Yes,
Lubna,
one
I'm
second.
just
I want to. I
bringing
have
you
one
here because I
concluding
have to
sentence
close
here.
also. Yeah,
Yeah, one second.
go ahead.
See, here also the advisory came out for women. It did not come out to
That's the
women
point.
telling that खबरदार, खबरदार
No, that
आपने
is
जो
exactly.
वोगरिंग किया, खबरदार जो वो किया, वो नहीं
नहीं
आया.
नहीं होगा, वो नहीं हो रहा है
That is
बिकॉज
the
एमपी
point.
में भी तो बात कर रहे हैं कि जीपीएस लगाएंगे वुमेन के बैग के साथ. सो व्हेन सो आवर
So burden is on us.
आइडेंटिफिकेशन
Burden
सो
हमको ज्यादा किया जा रहा है. We are not free
so
anymore.
so actually our identification of problem is wrong. Like today also I
Yes.
mentioned, when we are talking about women celebration, we are all women talking about it. Actually men have to talk about it, and we have to talk about men. So we can actually propose international men's day where we can start talking about men, what men are doing wrong, because the problem is not what women are facing as problem is some men are doing wrong. Because of it, not only other men are getting shamed because of the few men doing wrong, and also women are suffering and nature is suffering. This is something very important. But I think for Fasila, you get a point where we are heading, because actually a matriarchal society in any day is better, but not with the undermining of the patriarchy you are talking about. I like to get just last few lines from you, Fasila, to be fair with all the speakers here. We have just 2 minutes here before I wrap up. So, where do you see yourself, and also more women in this, women who are more vocal or expressive, I will say, where are we heading from here? Where do you see yourself also? Please go ahead and give a line or a minute speech. You have to unmute yourself.
One thing I have learned from my experience is that speaking up and questioning empowers yourself a lot. Like, it gives you have to keep on questioning what troubles you. It might trouble people around you, but you have to keep questioning whatever troubles you. I will tell you, in my first job, like talking about laws, we have a maternity benefit act which gives paid leave for women, right? But in my first job, there was a situation where women were getting paid leave for maternity benefit, but because it was reducing their service term, it was affecting their promotions. So this
Yes.
affected me as a lawyer. So I was like, what is the point of a law like this? You're paying them, then where is the equality here? If their
So
promotions are
paying
getting
and penalizing, paying and
I
penalizing.
was paying and penalizing them. So I actually spoke to a lot of people, and so many people thought that my point was wrong. There were men who came up to me and said, we are actually working 3 or 6 months more than them. How can we be jeopardized for it? So, but the
So
underlying
men
essence,
forget. Men
yeah,
forget
but
that
the
they have
underlying
never.
essence is that this maternity, or women who choose to have kids, is a reality of the nature that we live in. So if we have to accept that reality and take equality as it is forward, you have to make laws and rules that work together for the benefit of all genders, that works together for
Absolutely.
everyone. So one
Absolutely.
thing is that it is also a matter of conditioning. Like, for example, in my house, if I would wake up, and if there is no food, my mom will be guilty. She'll feel guilty that she hasn't cooked. My dad will just be hungry. So this is the kind of mindset that
This is where we need to change at home.
yes, yes.
Okay. I think we will have to bring a closure to it, and very important point here when we are celebrating women, and I think that that has come across very clear amongst all of us. That men have to be also part of this kind of discourse, because it's more
I
about
think
men than about women. We will
can I
have
make
to
one?
close, Professor. It has to be
Just
really, really just seconds. Good.
Yes, yeah. I just want to say that it is very important that men also have to realize that patriarchy has to undergo change from control to care, because patriarchy has also
Absolutely.
turned them into aggressive, angry, where they cannot express their emotions.
Monsters. To be honest,
Monsters
monsters.
dehumanizes them. It dehumanizes. So it's very
Dehumanizes.
important
Yeah.
for men also to
Yes.
address this power system, and from control to care. That's very important. That they have
Absolutely.
to do.
And ironically, Professor Ansari, it will also come back to the woman to really do that job. That is the fun part. Anand ji, आपका हाथ raised है. I am just going
One
to give the
point,
vote of
I'm not
thanks.
talking about care in sense of
Yes, we
care.
will talk outside these girls because we have to be disciplined and close it on time. Okay. Yes,
नहीं
Anand ji, आपका
मैं
हाथ raised है.
नहीं बस मैं जल्दी से दो चीजें। एक तो जैसा
जी.
मैंने कहा लक्षद्वीप पे हम लेकर अलग से, जैसा आपने सजेस्ट किया, विल डू अ सेशन ऑन लक्षद्वीप ओनली। वो दूसरा तो थोड़ा टाइम का इसलिए है क्योंकि 6 बजे एक दूसरा सेशन है, तो दैट इज व्हाई वी आर
We must
क्लोजिंग इट।
respect time.
और
Yes.
मैं एक चीज आप सब लोगों से आग्रह करूंगा, और डॉक्टर आनंद उसमें जल्दी से एक लाइन जोड़ देंगे। मुझे एक चीज हरदम लगती है, क्योंकि ये सोसाइटी फॉर कम्युनल हार्मनी है, हमारी तरफ से ये डिमांड होनी चाहिए। और रिसेंट के समय में यूपी में एक चीज बनी है, राम जन्मभूमि मैनेजमेंट ट्रस्ट। तो उस ट्रस्ट में सरकार ने बनाया है, और हमारे सबके घर तो हमारी माँ या हमारी बहन या हमारी बेटी चलाती हैं। वो अजीब सी जगह है जहां पे 15 लोगों में एक भी वुमेन को उन्होंने इस देश में इस लायक नहीं समझा कि दे कैन रन अ ट्रस्ट। तो मुझे
आनंद जी, ये बात मैंने रखी थी आपको, ये बात तो रखी थी, क्योंकि वो राम मंदिर बन रहा है, सीता राम मंदिर नहीं बन रहा है।
मानसी जी, मैं सिर्फ ये कहना चाह रहा हूं कि हाँ, वो सिया राम का मंदिर नहीं बन रहा है, ये वो है। मैं सिर्फ ये कहना चाह रहा हूं कि सोसाइटी फ्रॉम कम्युनल हार्मनी की तरफ से वी मस्ट रेज दिस पॉइंट एंड वी मस्ट डिमांड दिस। प्रोफेसर आनंद कुमार 1 मिनट में कह के फिर बैक टू मानसी जी।
जी
नहीं, दिस हैज बीन अ वेरी मीनिंगफुल एक्सरसाइज, और आपने लक्षद्वीप से लेकर के दिल्ली तक के लोगों को जोड़ा, और जो सवाल उठाए, और जिसमें आखिरी बात कही कि इसमें पुरुषों की भी उपस्थिति, हिस्सेदारी, और उनको भी सुनने की जरूरत है। और जो बॉटम लाइन थी कि फ्रॉम कंट्रोल एंड कमांड टू केयर एंड कंसर्न, ये पैराडाइम शिफ्ट, ये नए तरह का लालन पालन माँ और पिता की मदद से, स्कूल से, मीडिया से, पॉलिटिक्स से, ये बहुत समझदारी से हमने अपनी बातों को रखा। वी कुड हैव कंप्लेन्ड अ लॉट, लेकिन यहाँ किसी ने भी विक्टिम वाला कार्ड नहीं बताया, बल्कि ह्यूमन वाला फैक्टर सामने रखा कि ह्यूमन सोसाइटी है, और ह्यूमन सोसाइटी का एक पहिया आपने पंचर कर दिया है, और गाड़ी चलाए जा रहे हैं तो गाड़ी टेढ़ी मेढ़ी चल रही है। और जो वॉर से लेके फेमिन तक, अंडर डेवलपमेंट से लेकर के क्रिमिनलाइजेशन तक, ये तो मर्दों की दुनिया है। तो कम से कम आईना तो देख लें कि आप कर क्या रहे हैं और क्यों कर रहे हैं। बहुत धन्यवाद। और जैसा आपने वादा किया आनंद वर्धन जी, इस एक्सरसाइज को थोड़ा और एलैबोरेट करेंगे और रीजनल पैटर्न्स की बात करेंगे तो और अच्छी तरह से, या सोसाइटी कम्युनिटीज की, रिलीजियस कम्युनिटीज की बात करेंगे तो जेंडर वाला वेरिएबल और सामने से
जेंडर पर्सपेक्टिव होना चाहिए, एक डिस्कशन होना चाहिए रिलीजन एंड जेंडर पर्सपेक्टिव।
Thank
one
you so
point,
much.
please. One point, just
okay,
one point.
Okay, Lubna, just
last
one.
minute. Why this is very important? Once again, I'll tell you. People of India should know that we have such a Muslim personal law board which has given in written रिटर्न एफिडेविट उसने सुप्रीम कोर्ट में दाखिल किए हैं, उसमें ये मेंशन करते हुए कि वुमेन के पास डिसीजन मेकिंग कैपेसिटी नहीं है। और मैं कौन सी एफिडेविट की बात कर रही हूँ? ट्रिपल तलाक की एफिडेविट की, जिसको मैंने बहुत डिटेल में पढ़ा कि आखिर मेरे ये बोर्ड ने क्या लिखा क्या। सो दिस इज द साइट ऑफ सेटअप विथ नो रिलीजियस बेसिस, विथ नो साइंटिफिक बेसिस, they can speak like this, then they can write and written and give. So when we are addressing the women
I
issues,
think
these points have to
this
be taken.
issue is independent. I
सूर्य
think we
अलनिसा
will have
औरत
to.
को पूरा हक देता है, सूर्य अलनिसा
I think
कुरान
we
में
will,
औरत
yes,
को पूरा हक देता है।
bilkul. We will take all these issues in forthcoming sessions, and I will also be very happy to organize it further if Anandji finds it important, and to do further sessions on these matters. But at this point today, I would like to really thank Professor Arvinder Ansari, Dr. Lubna Sarwat, Fasila Ibrahim ji, and Anand ji also to invite all of us to have this conversation. Professor Anand Kumar from JNU also to be patiently listening to our, a conversation here, and all the people who are listening us live from YouTube and Facebook and other channels. So under the aegis of Society of Communal Harmony, as we were talking, आधी आबादी का एक ही धर्म, वो है औरत. तो कहीं ना कहीं हम सब प्लीज सोचें कि दो पहिए की गाड़ी हम अब तक एक पहिए से ही चला रहे हैं, और इसीलिए गाड़ी की इतनी बुरी हालत है. तो प्लीज दोनों पहिया का गाड़ी चाहिए, अगर गाड़ी चलानी है तो, टू व्हीलर है तो इसके साथ एक लाइट मोमेंट के साथ मैं ये कॉन्वर्सेशन आज खत्म करना चाहूंगी. Compassion is the bottom line, peace is the bottom line, ecology is the bottom line, and for that we need women to be on board. Thank you so much. Please take care of yourself, and namaskar and jai hind.